Hey guys, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, your home of all things stock, investment, and personal finance related. In today's video, we're pleased to welcome back Cale Moodie. He's the CEO of Neptune Digital Assets. Obviously, a very exciting spot to be in right now as we're seeing a surge in both Bitcoin and crypto prices around the world. We wanted to invite Cale back on the program to give us an update on his company and strategy moving into next year. Now, before we get into that, take a second, smash the like button, you guys. Big help to myself and the channel. If you're not already subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to join and let me know in the comment section below if you're currently holding shares of Neptune Digital Assets, if you've heard of this company before, and your outlook on the crypto space in the final few months of 2024. Now, with that being said, let's get into today's interview. Okay, guys, so that's right. We've got Cale Moodie back from Neptune Digital Assets. He's the CEO, director, and co-founder of this crypto-focused company. Now, Cale, we cover a lot of the Bitcoin miners on the channel. Obviously, Bitcoin, since the big political developments south of the border here, has been on an absolute tear. We were just talking about that before we started filming. Neptune really finds himself in a great position at the perfect time here. So it's great to have you back on the channel.
Yeah, it's great timing. I mean, I was here, I think I was traveling at the time, but I was overseas, and I think it was last December. So it's been almost a year. And we have seen a major appreciation in the overall markets. We've seen ETFs get approved. We've seen a pretty wild shakeup in the U.S. administration coming in January, which to me, I had expected it to be sort of a neutral impact, but it looks like it's been wildly beyond my expectations. And so we're super pumped on what's happening south of the border. Bitcoin's here to stay. And we're true Bitcoiners, and we can talk a little bit about the company, what we've done in the last year. That's great.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into it. Now, because it's been a while since you've been on the channel, can we do a quick refresher just on maybe how you got into this space, Cale, a little bit about yourself and how you ended up co-founding Neptune Digital?
Yeah, well, it's funny, actually. I'm a CPA by trade, so I was at KPMG for years, and then went into the capital market space, and I was a real gold bug. So I believed in these counter-inflationary assets that could, fight inflation and sort of retain value over time as the government blew up basically fiat money. So I moved from gold and I discovered Bitcoin around 2014, and I've been a real advocate since. We tried to start a company in 2017, a Bitcoin trust in Canada, which made it all the way to the OSC sandbox, and then that got rejected because it was a novel asset class. Fast forward, we said, okay, well, let's do something, and we started Neptune Dash at the time. And so Neptune Dash was our first inception into the crypto space, and we had this operational company. We had Dash masternodes, and Dash was like a token that was like the top 3 at the time. And it was like one of the first proof of stake tokens. So we could do proof of stake masternodes. We earned some income on that. And to put this in perspective, because not all alts last cycles, Dash at the time was like, I think it was like $1,200 or something, and now it's like 20. We got out of that space. We still have some legacy masternodes, but that's just for fun. And so we diversified and we said, okay, like, what's our treasury asset going to be? So similar to like a MicroStrategy, we have this big growing pool of Bitcoin, and that never gets sold. We just add to that all the time. And then we have our mining engines. Now, when I say mining, I put that in quotations because we have actual proof of work mining. So we have like, mining rigs hashing out and delivering more Bitcoin to our pool. But we also have this proof of stake operation, which is really unique to our business, and I don't think many people have this in their portfolio unless you have NDA, because not many companies are doing it. So we do a diversified proof of stake approach, and so those again are earning revenues as tokens, and we can take those tokens and then we can flip them into Bitcoin. So we have these 2 revenue streams, kind of like, I mean, back to the MicroStrategy example, they have this software business, and that sort of finances what they really are, which is, a massive Bitcoin company. We're not anywhere close to their size, obviously. We would love to be even 1/100th of their size, but that's the goal one day, the Canadian MicroStrategy. So again, two revenue streams. These lead up to our Bitcoin treasury, which is always growing. And that's sort of where we're at.
That's amazing. Now, I alluded to this a little bit earlier, but we have a quite a strong following of Bitcoin mining enthusiasts or publicly
Mhm.
traded Bitcoin miner investors on the channel. So for those watching, Cale, can you give us just a quick insight into your Bitcoin HODL or approximate reserve in terms of number of coins and in terms of your mining operations there, hosting, self-mining, and approximate fleet size or exahash?
Yeah, and it's tiny. I mean, we're talking like 50 petahash, like it's tiny. And we're not, and to put it in perspective, we're not growing that. We're going to leave that to the big guys to do the mining stuff. That's sort of a legacy, again, a legacy project for us. We're going to run the rigs until we can't use them anymore, and then we just toss them as they obsolesce. But we're just not growing that business. I mean, that business is turning into sort of a power producer business where you have these big utilities that essentially become utilities, and then they turn on their rigs when it's profitable, turn them off when it's not profitable. They have the infrastructure and they sell the power into the grid when it's not profitable to mine Bitcoin. So it's just a big operation for us, and we just don't want to do that. So we're focusing on proof of stake going forward. So again, our 50 petahash is declining over time. I mean, I imagine it'll probably hash out for another couple of years until they are completely obsolescent, and we'll be growing our proof of stake during that time. And sorry, I was there another question in there? I can't
Just
remember.
current Bitcoin HODL.
Oh yeah, I think our last report was about 349. So
Excellent.
say 350 today, and that's growing all the time. So I mean we have internal goals of where we want to get to, and I'm always, we do actually a lot of derivative trades as well. So we sell put options on Bitcoin, which is great for us because we're long-term long. If we get that immediate premium, and if we don't get hit, that's great. We got a premium. If not, and we get hit, then we get Bitcoin cheaper and we keep it on our balance sheet. So it's sort of a win-win for us. So we've done that. We've generated some good revenues that way as well. But again, we have some internal targets. We're always growing that number, and cycle after cycle, that's going to be bigger.
Amazing. Yeah, a couple things I heard I really like there. Long-term long and never sell your core Bitcoin position. Now, it's really interesting as you talk about kind of transitioning from proof of work, which is traditional Bitcoin mining, over to proof of stake here and some of these new opportunities. And I think that's really where we want to spend some time here is in what
Yeah.
differentiates Neptune Digital Assets from some of these other crypto or Bitcoin proxies. So can you give us a little bit of an overview of what that means, specific coins or tokens that you guys are interested in right now, and kind of how the operation works?
Yeah. So a number of blockchains right now, obviously our key one is Solana. So we were very fortunate. We did pick up Solana from a bankrupt entity. I won't name any names, but in 2022, they were take your pick. So we were lucky. We got in and got some of that Solana at about I think it was about $64 US for the Solana. We bought about 27,000 of them. Those are locked up and they're released over time, but we have a big release, I believe in January, February, actually, yeah, February or March 2025. But again, they're released over time and we self-custody them as they come out, and then we stake them. So Solana, I think we're getting about 7.5%. So that bag of Solana is always growing. We anticipate Solana is going to be a big winner this cycle. Of course, there is going to be some sell pressure, but in a mania, it doesn't really matter. So, I mean, our internal price estimates sort of for Solana are, anywhere from 800 to 2,000 a token. So we're pretty optimistic on Solana. Don't quote me on those guesses, but we'll see what happens. But we're very optimistic on Solana because it's just great in many ways. So we expect that to be a big winner this cycle. So I think we're sitting on about 32,000 Solana, which is growing daily. We don't plan on really selling much of the Solana. I think we're going to see how it can perform. If we were going to sell it, we'd obviously sell it into Bitcoin. if Bitcoin is a 4x, Solana is probably an 8x or more. So we're pretty pumped on that. We staked some ETH. And again, we're doing all this stuff internally. So this comes back to the diversified portfolio of proof of stake. And again, to my knowledge, I don't think there's anybody else doing that. There's proof of stake focused companies. Well, they just stake Solana or they do something else. And I think that's great as well. You want investors to have a pick of what they want to do. Do they want to invest in one or do they want to diversify? So, I mean, trying to pick the one winner is tricky, as you know. And we've been down that road before with Neptune Dash, and we just didn't pick the right winner for multiple cycles, like for the winner that's going to last multiple cycles, I should say. So diversification with a Bitcoin lead seems to work best for us. Again, so Solana, ETH. Again, we have some legacy master nodes. We have some DOT. We still are firm believers in Phantom. I mean, Cosmos hasn't been performing very well yet this cycle. It seems to be a bit of a downer because I see that every day, but it does generate nice rewards, and it has performed well for us over cycles. I think our average price was $1.50 or something. So we're still up on that, and it still generates some rewards. That said, if it doesn't perform soon, we may start flipping some of that into Bitcoin or Solana.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, you said you first got exposure to this space in 2014. So that's 10 years ago, which is essentially a lifetime in the crypto space. So you've obviously learned some of these hard lessons, some of these strategies over time in prior cycles. Now, one piece of recent developments, in addition to this Solana staking, which I think is great, really particularly because you get that diversified exposure, but as an investor, you don't have to worry about the intricacies of moving your coins, staking, self-custody, all the rest. So I definitely like that approach. You've also come out with a press release talking about a new credit facility, further kind of extenuating that MicroStrategy feel, or Canadian MicroStrategy feel. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit as it relates to opportunities that it maybe opens up for staking or purchasing new cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, I can chat about that. One more point about the diversified exposure I didn't remember to mention, which is the tax sheltering capability. So when you're buying equities, you can shelter these in your 401k or RRSP or TFSA. So that's a huge advantage, not paying tax on cryptocurrency earnings. So if you were to do this yourself, it's a lot of work. And again, you have to cold storage your own stuff, and you have to learn how each ecosystem works. And for 90% of people, that just doesn't make sense. So again, back to that's the utility of this stock is like, hey, diversified portfolio of proof of stake tokens, Bitcoin being the top, and tax sheltering that. So that's a big one. In fact, that was part of the reason why we did this back in 2017. We're like, this is perfect, shelter it, tax shelter crypto earnings. And then, yes, so fast forward, we did a raise in 2018 on IPO at 50 cents. We raised $20 million. We did another raise in 2021. We raised $40 million at $1.35. So we're committed to our cap structure. I'm the biggest shareholder. I don't want to water myself down. I don't want to dilute our shareholders who have stuck with us over the years. So we're just not about doing a private placement on the first bump in the stock and crushing everybody. So that's just not on our list. I mean, we won't even be thinking about a PP until we get to say, I don't know, 3x what we did last time, which was $1.35. So when we get to, $3 to $6, then we will start thinking about a PP. So that ties into hey, how do we get capital right now? And how do we use that capital to leverage it back into the market and grow our HODL? The idea is to basically use our assets, which we have a very strong balance sheet of Bitcoin and other tokens, but we'd probably just use the Bitcoin. And then we can use that as collateral against debt. And there's a number of banks who are on the forefront of doing this. Big institution that's out of UK, Switzerland, some in the United States that actually do this. So we put out that release. We're in discussions with a couple different parties. And that actually release was quite helpful because it brought in some other competitors who are actually also loaning against Bitcoin reserves. So for us, it's a non-dilutive way to get access to capital immediately that we can then put into the market strategically and turn that 25 into, 250 would be ideal.
It certainly would. No, it's very exciting times. And as if we've learned anything from Michael Saylor, if you're able to borrow money and put that to work and utilize bigger returns than you have to pay back, obviously it's a no-brainer, a win-win, as you say, Cale, earlier in the conversation. Now, I wanted to just touch on upcoming opportunities. So you've talked about some of the specific tokens or coins that you guys are very bullish about, some of this new credit facility opportunities, obviously on a macro scale here with the election in the United States and the ETF inflows, just really FOMO across the board, nation states now jumping into the Bitcoin pandemonium here. What should people be looking for as investors in terms of upcoming catalysts at Neptune Digital Assets and at a macro level here?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a steady stream of good news coming out. I'd watch for obviously our annual report, although our annual report's in August. But when we do an annual report, we top it up to the day we release it so that people can see what our financials look like in August and what they look like today, just as sort of an overview. So that'll be good. When we lock in the loan, we'll release that as well and state who we're doing it with and what our plans for that money are. And then the Solana, it's like, let's watch Solana and see what happens in terms of price. We haven't had an alt season yet, which is pretty interesting. I mean, things are just starting to kick off, but Bitcoin pulled back $1,000 and the alts just, it's like they're like scared little animals. Everything retreated except for maybe Doge. So it's really interesting. And then, I mean, I'm a big fan of Elon. He's a little kooky at times, but his brilliance is not overlooked. We're pumped on our SpaceX investment, even more so now. He has the new administration coming in and probably has Trump's ear on that. So I expect big things for SpaceX. Let's see if we can get to the moon faster and so on and so forth. So we may actually add to our SpaceX position. I know I've said on previous interviews that we're probably not going to, but I think it looks really, really ripe time to actually add to that. So that's another thing to watch for. There's no guarantees there. It has to be the right opportunity and the right pricing, and the right structure. So that's another thing we're looking at. And then just tokens. I mean, we have some of these AI. I didn't mention we actually have some GRT, the Graph AI token, which we're pretty pumped on as well. I think it's going to do nice things this cycle. And then it's just a matter of watching the cycle. I mean, these breakouts are great. It looks like the equities are sort of all consolidating now. We had a really big run up in the share price. Equities seem to be consolidating. That's healthy. I'm getting some panicked emails like, I'm just trying to keep people honest and say, hey, look, we've had a 200 to 300% run across the board for a lot of these companies. So, I mean, after that, you're going to see some either consolidation sideways at best, but you're going to see some adjustment. You're going to see a bit of a pullback, even in spite of Bitcoin going higher. But what you can count on, obviously, is our super strong balance sheet. Currently we have no debt. So we just have, I think our last report was 60 million or 55 million in NAV. That has grown obviously greatly since even in the last couple of weeks. So very strong balance sheet. And keep in mind also, we mine crypto, and the crypto that we're mining is going up in value. So our revenues are also at the same time increasing. And when we get that alt season, and alts go 5 to 10x, our revenues go 5 to 10x because we're mining mostly alts.
Yeah, that's where it gets really exciting. And as we've seen in previous cycles, things can pick up extremely quick in this space. Your comments around Elon, I look up to him a lot as well as a real visionary. And one thing I've learned is you definitely don't want to bet against that guy. So I'm glad you bought or brought up, well, I'm glad you bought and brought up
Yeah.
this SpaceX exposure, because that's another aspect of this Neptune Digital portfolio that we didn't touch on today. We did touch on in our last interview, but another example of how you're getting access to this future technology, but really in a hands-off approach, letting the experts who've been through these cycles before take a look at maybe the opportunities you see in the space. So a great update. Obviously, a very exciting sector to be in right now, Cale. I'm sure team meetings and your weekly meetings around the office are pretty upbeat right now. We look forward to having you guys back here. We'll continue to monitor these positions you brought up on the call. I'll give you the mic back for any closing thoughts here, but congratulations on the success and really finding yourself in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to be on the show. And yeah, if shareholders have any questions, they can throw them in the chat, and I'll try and get on the YouTube and answer them if I can. And yeah, just great things ahead. I mean, we're pumped to see 100K get breached. And just keep in mind, there's gonna be real fake outs on the downside here, but I expect this bull run to last some time, if at least 6 to 12 months from here.
That's the exact numbers we've been quoting on the channel. So that's good to see we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for your time here, you guys. If you're still watching, hit the like button. Feel free to subscribe. Let us know if you're currently holding shares, what you think about this diversified strategy or approach, and your Bitcoin price target in the final few months of 2024 here. Cale, thanks so much for your time. We look forward to having you back soon. We'll talk then.
Thanks for having me.